everyone, Olive here. I am 1/3 of the Bluestocking Belles. The other 2/3 include my lovely friend Rose and my lovely friend Feather, two of my best friends from home. And also just wanted to say a very big hello to our new subscribers. Thank you very much to Krista from Books and Jams for giving us a shout out. We really appreciate it, and we've been here for about a month now, I believe, so we are loving having a channel and having such a fantastic community to talk about books to, and it's just been a really great time. So thank you to you all for being a part of that. So on to my April wrap-up. The very first book that I finished reading this month is Crime and Punishment by, let's see if I can pronounce the name, Fyodor Dostoevsky. So I virtually knew nothing about this book. I just happened to be wandering around Indigo and saw it. There was a fantastic 2 for $10 sale of classics and I got really excited. So anyways, being a criminology major, as some of you know if you've watched my other videos, I got real excited because Crime and Punishment, two of my favorite things. And I actually took a class in university called Crime and Punishment. Basically, it chronicles the main character, whose name is Raskolnikov. I think that was a lot better than my pronunciation of the author's name. And he is morally conflicted. He thinks that basically there are certain people in society who should be allowed to murder other people. Someone contributes to society and they murder someone else and they go on to accomplish great things that benefit society. It is okay. So ultimately, and this is not a spoiler because it says it right here on the back, Raskolnikov commits murder. So when he commits this murder, he feels a lot of remorse, and he is very shocked by this because he thinks that he is a great man who benefits society and thinks that he has the right to commit a murder, but in doing so, realizes that perhaps he's not the man he thinks he is. What I really find so fascinating about this book is that it chronicles around what is crime, what is punishment, and looking more so at what does it mean in our society to commit a crime, or to punish or be punished, who deserves to be punished. Why or why not? I think this is really relevant to our society. It doesn't matter that it was written so long ago. All the questions and content that are discussed in this book are equally as applicable today. Perhaps even more so because we have such a large mass amount of people incarcerated now compared to the 1800s. One thing I do wish though is that the book talked a little bit more about Raskolnikov's point of view on murder. It definitely does talk about it, but I found a lot of the book really chronicles around his remorse. This book is a classic from Russia. It was first published in 1866, I believe, and so of course it's going to be a little bit of a more difficult read because of the time period, but I found it really engaging. The content is fantastic. This book is a classic for a reason, for sure. But if you decide to take on Crime and Punishment, know that you have to be very dedicated because it is quite a tome. When I finished reading Crime and Punishment, I literally got an email from Goodreads congratulating me. And next book up is 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I got this book for my birthday from one of my best friends from home, and I had known nothing about the author, the Grisha trilogy, which comes before this duology, or anything before I received this book in the mail. So, going in completely blind, I was absolutely stunned by this book. First of all, let's just talk about how cool the pages are. What really captured me quite quickly about this book is how Leigh Bardugo creates and talks about her characters. So the characters are really what drew me in. The plot, of course, also is excellent in this book. This book revolves around 6 young people who come from a town called Ketterdam, and they basically take on a massive heist to try and get a large reward. And I love this book so much that the instant I finished it, I immediately went online to find the cheapest copy of the next book in the series, which I have just started, and it also is fantastic, so I'll definitely be doing a review on that one as well. Another book I read this month, I do not actually have a physical copy. I have an e-copy, which I generally don't do, but I did this time. It is Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on that book, I actually did a review video of that, so you can find that in my playlist, which got so sunny. But Milk and Honey is essentially a compilation of poetry by the author, and it really chronicles some of the trauma she's been through as a person of color in Canada, as well as someone who was abused as a child, and it talks about relationships, really. So that, I would say, is the essence of the book. Relationships between her parents, her family, herself, significant other particularly, but it's just a fantastically written work, and I highly recommend it to everyone. Something that's really unique about Milk and Honey is that there are little doodles and little bits of artwork throughout that really go along with the simplicity yet complexity of the content that she is talking about. So a book that I reread this month for I think the maybe 4th time is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I just love her books so much, and I recently did a video where I mentioned a couple of Cassandra Clare's books, so after mentioning how much I loved them, I thought, hey, I should do a whole reread of all of her books from start to finish. So this will be a bit of a slower process because I have so many new books I also need to read, but you know, one book at a time, right? So City of Bones, in case you are unaware of Cassandra Clare's stories, get on it. Basically, it is about this girl who figures out that she has a strange connection to a fantasy world that actually exists among our real world. She finds out that she actually comes from a family of demon warriors called Shadow Hunters. This is all in the back, so it's not spoiler. And it's really about her finding her place in this world and discovering her family's past. No excuses, read this book if you have not read it yet. Another book that I read but I do not have the physical copy of right now because I'm lending to a friend is called Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. So Everything Everything caught my attention because it's about a girl who is allergic to everything. She lives inside her house, which is air sealed, vacuum sealed, nothing can get in so that it does not kill her, and basically the two main people that are in her life are her nurse and her mother. However, everything changes when a boy next door moves in, and through a series of events they become friends and start to really like each other. This isn't normally a book that would catch my eye, but it did because of the allergy thing, and I have really severe allergies myself. So I thought this could be a really great book that either promotes allergy awareness or gives people a little bit more insight into what people with allergies go through on a day-to-day basis. But I was disappointed in that regard, and I'm really upset about it. I'm not going to give spoilers, but I will say it's just not a positive picture that is painted in the book of allergies. If you read this book in a non-critical way, and you're really just reading it for a fast read, then you probably won't be as offended as I am. But if you are like me and can be quite critical, and if you have allergies, you may be offended. Which I think is really quite a shame because this book has really blown up. It's a bestseller, it's going to become a movie soon, so opportunity missed. This could have been a great time to shine lights on allergies. But here we are. Allergies are just an illness. That's what they're called in the book, and I really disagree with that. And the last book that I read this month is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and this book is actually our book club book, so please stay tuned next week for when Feather and Rose and I do our book club book reviews. But just to give you an idea for right now, the story chronicles two sisters in Nazi-occupied France. One of the sisters, Isabelle, she becomes part of the French resistance, and I found her plot definitely the most interesting in reading throughout the book. And the other sister, Vianne, she is a little bit more laid back, in the sense of being timid. She has a family, so it does make sense that she's a little bit more cautious during the war compared to her sister. And this story really is about relationships. This is the first Kristen Hanna book that I've read. I know she has a ton of other books and that she's a best-selling author. Can't say I'm thrilled with her writing. I started off loving this book because I do not read war fiction as a general rule, but since it's book club book, gotta read the war fiction. So this plot has such potential, and that the plot itself is really fantastic. However, the writing is not something I'm a huge fan of. So for that reason, I'm not motivated to pick up another Kristen Hanna book at this point. However, I can see why a lot of people like it on Goodreads. I think it has around a 4.5 on Goodreads. but it's just not my kind of book. As I was finishing up the book, I thought that I was probably going to rate it a 2 out of 5. However, the conclusion was actually astounding and surprising, and for the reason of the conclusion, I rate this book a 3 out of 5. Thank you so much for stopping by our Bluestocking Belles channel. We really appreciate it. And remember, next week, the three of us will be doing reviews on our book club book, The Nightingale, which I just talked about. Make sure that you are keeping an eye out for Feather's videos, which always come out on Saturday, and for Rose's videos, which always come out on Monday. So, have a great day and happy reading!